Thank you, Tony. And thank you very much for coming, folks. I think half the battle at this is to decide which meeting you want to go to. I should also try to remember that we're to speak for 6 to 7 minutes, not 67 minutes. So this is a great topic, and I think it's good to see the battle discussing this. Now, if we are to talk about defending the West in a dangerous world, which we need to, we might start with an uncomfortable look at some of the ways that the West might have, in a well-meaning but misguided way, contributed to that stability. NATO has kept the peace well in Europe, but I think some ill-advised and over interventions elsewhere have not always helped. And despite the bravery and professionalism of our forces, I think the ill-fated invasion of Iraq in 2003 and in Libya helped reduce both countries to chaos. On the other hand, there have been many justified and successful deployments and interventions. And as an example, I would cite the Kosovo intervention of 1999, Tony Blair's finest hour, in my view, when the West came to the aid of a mostly Muslim population, even if we did manage to inadvertently bomb the Chinese embassy in Belgrade. Now, despite all this, the world does face potential and substantial threats. As Simon has already said, I haven't been reading his mail, the so-called peace dividend of the 90s and the so-called end of history, where democracy and was supposed to have universally triumphed, now look a bit naive, if well-meaning at the time. So conflicts continue in Afghanistan after the troublesome Western withdrawal there, Ukraine, where Britain has played a leading role, attempts made to delegitimize and attack Israel. China threatens Taiwan and builds bases on unclaimed islands in territorial waters. We also continue to see so-called grey zone conflicts short of all-out full-scale war. These range from cyber attacks to targeted assassinations. But we should also look closer to home at the UK forces and at our own security. Whilst we've clearly not been a global power, a major power for many decades, if you were to draw a four-circle Venn diagram of NATO, permanent members of the UN Security Council, Europe and the Commonwealth, then I think I'm right in saying that Britain is the only country that's in all four. So we're very much at the crossroads of the world, and we have a role to play, and we should be a positive force in the world. So as an example, the AUKUS, that's Australia, UK, USA, defence and submarine deal, I thought was a very good example of this. And I well remember Boris's comments about the raucous squawkus of the anti-AUKUS caucus. Only Boris could have come up with that one. That deal will see the three countries cooperate to provide Australia with 5 nuclear-powered, note, not nuclear-armed submarines, and hopefully, a rotation of a British or a US submarine based in Australia. Also, Japan, a friendly democracy that we would do well to keep in with, is said to be interested in joining the deal. Japan and Italy are partners with the UK on the next generation Tempest fighter plane, though we hear that inevitably there have been funding pressures. The aircraft carriers will be going out next year, or at least one of them will be, on a global deployment, although it will take most of our available ships, and we could do with some here. The Navy is down to just 9 frigates and 6 destroyers, and we're struggling for a supply ship. Nevertheless, these deployments and exercises, I think, send the right message. Don't misunderestimate us. And I was talking to Simon beforehand, and we both feel the army should be about 100,000, not 70,000. Talking of acronyms and alphabet soup, I'm a big fan of CANZUK, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, UK. These 4 countries have much in common, and enhanced relationships between them would really help boost Western security. Giving away the strategically important Chagos Islands, I think, has been a poor move. At least Starmer has reassured us at PMQs that the Falklands and Gibraltar are safe. Bookmark that one. We can only hope so for our bases on Cyprus and other territories. Armed forces recruitment under pressure, and not just here. Boots on the ground matter, and whilst high-tech kit is great, it can only do so much. Colonel Tim Collins has written of what he sees as a too much of an overzealous pursuit of diversity in the armed forces at the expense of our forces' traditional recruiting base. It's not just about more kit. The overall offer needs to be improved, including stuff as basic as service housing. The West needs to wake up, rearm and rediscover ourselves. Diplomacy and use of soft power can only do so much, and a weak West is asking for trouble. We found out this week that North Korean troops may be heading for Ukraine. How many more clues do we want? Defence spending of 2.5% of GDP needs to be the floor, not the ceiling. We currently spend about 2.25%. May we need to go to 3%. Some of the NATO freeloaders, including Germany, are getting the message, but Spain, Italy, and Canada are barely spending 1.5%. So here's my final point. For how much longer can we comfortably rely on our prosperous lifestyles, secured in many ways by the sacrifice of previous generations? How long can we continue to take them for granted if we're not prepared to defend them?
Thank you very much.